Hey everyone, it's Jaden here from SpeedCubeShop.com, and today we're taking a look at some cubes from a new company called ESCube. There are three versions. We have a magnetic version, a ball core version, and a 20 magnet ball core version with UV coating. And real quickly, before we dive into the cubes themselves, there is something I want to bring up regarding some of the stuff that comes in the accessories box. All of the pamphlets and the cards are all in Chinese, and there's no English translation for them, at least at the moment. So I used Google Translate, and now we can take a look at the adjustment system and see how it all works. And this is what it looks like. And this is what the adjustment tool looks like, kind of like a golf tee. To understand how the system works, there's two sets of numbers. There's 1 through 6 on the top ring and 1 through 5 on the bottom ring, which you can see those numbers through the little cutout here in that top ring. Now to make adjustments, you'll use your tool to turn clockwise to adjust the elasticity, which is notated by the numbers on the bottom ring. You just look at the cutout to see what setting you're on. In this case, we're on setting 5. And you'll turn counterclockwise to adjust the tensions, which is notated by the numbers on the top ring. Just look at the little notch on the centerpiece and that'll point to a number, also in this case setting 5. Now for both the bottom and the top ring, the lower the number, the lower the setting, and the higher the number, the higher the setting. But there is a bit of a design flaw with this adjustment system. As you can see, the numbers are only printed on half of the ring, and this is the same for both top and bottom. So if I were to go past setting 6, for example, on the top ring, you can see it's no longer pointing to any of the numbers, which makes it a little difficult to see what setting you're on. So if you wanted to be really precise, you'd have to turn it 180 degrees and go all the way back to setting 1. So definitely not the greatest design for an adjustment system, but hopefully if they make future versions of this cube, that issue will be addressed. Now with that out of the way, we can go ahead and jump right into the cubes. We're gonna go ahead and start with the magnetic version. So the turning feel for this cube is pretty dry and crunchy. It feels like there's a lot of friction between the pieces, and it also has a bit of a kind of bumpiness to the turns, mostly caused to the strong magnets of the cube. And even though this cube does have stronger magnets, it's still fairly uncontrollable. The cube is too fast and too loose out of the box, and the magnets are really struggling to kind of keep up with the turns. It's just overshooting a lot, and it's really struggling to just keep everything aligned. Now, along with that, it also has a bit of a blocky feel. So whenever I'm overshooting due to the high speed, there's also a tendency for the cube to be catching more than I think most other cubes would. Overall, I'm fairly disappointed with this version of the cube. I mean, it is all right, but I feel like it's pretty lacking. Again, this is a first release from a company, so I'm not expecting it to kind of keep up with some of the more top tier cubes from brands like GAN, Moyu, or Qi, but I am just a little underwhelmed. Now moving on to the ball core or the core magnetic version. This version is significantly better in my opinion, and I enjoy solving on this one way more. This version is definitely more controllable, and there seems to be more factory lube, which is nice, but I think the majority of the work is being done by the core magnets, and let me tell you, they're doing a great job. It's keeping all the layers aligned despite having a pretty high turning speed, which is allowing me to turn at my full speed, which is definitely helpful. On the previous version, I was definitely having to slow my turning down a bit, but with this one, I feel like I can actually go all out. In terms of the overall feel, it's pretty much the same. You're still getting a pretty blocky cube with that similar crunchy, dry, bumpy turning feel, but this version is definitely more reliable and controllable, and I would definitely recommend this one more over the previous version. Last up, we have the UV coated 20 magnet ball core version. So honestly, this version feels nearly identical to the previous one. I was really hoping that the 20 magnet ball core would help a bit more than it actually does. I was kind of hoping for maybe it would make the turning feel a bit more snappy, or the cube would feel more controllable, but that doesn't really seem to be the case. There just really isn't that big of a difference between the two versions, and this one doesn't even have maglev, and even the exterior doesn't feel all that different. Despite this version having UV coating, the other two cubes have a really nice semi-gloss finish, which mimics the feel of this cube's UV coating really well. So unless you absolutely have to have a 20 magnet ball core, I would just recommend going with the previous one that has the 8 magnet ball core. Now, before I go over my final thoughts, I want to give these cubes a quick setup just to 1, see how they respond to lube, and 2, see how much it impacts the actual overall performance of these cubes. And we can also take a quick look at the piece design as well. Honestly, nothing's really standing out. They seem to be pretty simple in design. They do seem to have some sort of texture on the sides of the pieces here to kind of help disperse the lube. And on the corner, we can see that the magnet is actually more of an oval shape as opposed to the typical circle you would see in most other cubes. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think it does all that much to affect the performance, but it is cool to see that they're kind of experimenting with differently shaped magnets to see if that does anything to the cube. And something else to take note of is that the 20 magnet ball core has light blue internals and the other two are just primary. And now for the setup, I'm going to use a bit of Cosmos. Breaking it in, it definitely already feels a lot better. I'm also going to give it a bit of Martian as well, just because it pairs well with Cosmos. It helps keep the cube controlled, but still feeling smooth and kind of retains some of that speed. Now I'm going to set up the other two with pretty similar setup, just using a bit less lube overall because it's already a bit slower than the magnetic version. So my final thoughts on these cubes are that they're just okay. There's nothing that really sets them apart from any of the other cubes that already exist out there, but this is a company's first release, so I'm willing to wait and see if maybe some of the later iterations down the line give us something that feels a little bit more unique. If I had to recommend one of the three versions, I would definitely have to go with the 8 magnet ball core. The magnetic version is just uncontrollable and too fast, and the 20 magnet ball core doesn't really feel any different. It just feels heavier, at least to me. So I would definitely go with the 8 magnet ball core. When I set it up, I was hitting my normal times pretty easily. It did take a moment for me to kind of adjust to the cube because it's not quite what I normally enjoy in a cube, but it was still pretty good and I was a fair bit impressed. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe and comment down below whether or not you'll be picking one of these cubes up. There will be a link in the description below to get them at SpeedCubeShop.com. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.